What's up, you guys? My name is Daniel David, and as you can see, I have moved my vlog away from my backyard and into a more professional setting with better lighting and better audio. Um, because I really want this to be an ongoing thing, and I hope that it grows, and I hope that people um, are touched by my opinion on things, because it comes from a very just I do my research, I look at the facts, I look at both sides of the spectrum, left and right, and I make my opinions based on that. I don't cling to an ideology just because everyone else clings to it or because I think that it's right. I analyze everything, and I speak from what I believe is best for everybody and society overall. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments, um, but I'm not gonna change my opinion on things just because some people aren't gonna like it. So with that being said, I want to discuss about police, defunding the police, the increased militarization of police. I want to touch a bit on the prison industrial complex and kind of end things with how I believe, with what I believe my final thoughts are on the whole situation about feeling safe with police. Also, really quick, I want to make a point that I try to do these completely unscripted. I go in with kind of an idea in my mind with what I want to talk about, and then I just start talking. So sorry if I sometimes need a pause to think about my next thought, because there's a lot going on in my mind at all times. So with that being said, I want to discuss a little bit about how the prison industrial complex that has been exploding since the 80s, essentially 80s and 90s, this whole war on drugs thing, has led to, because now that prisons are in the hands of privately owned corporations and their shareholders, there is now an incentive to incarcerate people because they are making a profit off of these human lives, putting these prisoners to work, having them make products and things, and now there's a whole economy that, has developed, and economies like to grow because they like to make money. With that being said, there has been a targeted predatory practice by police, specifically to communities of color. These predatory practices include, stop and frisk, very harsh sentencing for minor drug offenders. Basically, families are being broken up. Fathers are being taken away from their children. These children are growing up in broken homes, probably not doing so good in school, probably not getting a good education, and more than likely, because of our very abundance of very low income jobs and way too many people to fill them, they're more than likely gonna maybe sell some drugs on the side, maybe sell their bodies on the side, in order to survive, and continuing the cycle of the destructive cycle that is happening. And with that being said, I want to move on to the increased militarization of our police. So because of the United States' massive defense budget and constantly having to produce new weapons and new things, because that's pretty much the only thing that this country does produce anymore and manufacture is weapons of war. And in order to keep that industry going, they need to constantly innovate and create new and more deadlier weapons and things for our military. So with the old equipment, they're basically donating it to states and local police departments at for pennies. And that's why in the 70s you see cops with basically a baton and a very small pistol, and just kind of walking around communities and talking to people, where now you see these armored cars and assault rifles and all kinds of increased military technology given to police officers that are basically going through a few weeks of a police academy. And I can say, I used to be a hairstylist, and my cosmetology school program was much more rigorous than any police academy program ever is. And the most deadly thing that we have in our hands is maybe a curling iron. We don't carry weapons, we don't carry guns, lethal weapons, none of that. with that being said, this increased militarization of our police and just kind of police departments just kind of finding these people wherever to fill these positions and putting these deadly weapons on them. There's not like super extensive mental health checks going on. There's just very basic kind of surface level stuff. So with that being said, this whole sense of like, oh, we need the police to feel safe. I don't feel safe with the police around. I don't think that these people are stable enough or well trained enough to handle these weapons. There are a lot of prejudices there, maybe some childhood traumas that these officers aren't dealing with, and they are now being given a position to protect us with deadly weapons. I've never once in my life felt like I could call the police and that there would be some sense of urgency for them arriving to whatever situation is going on. Just to give you guys an example, my mom was broken into, her car was broken into while she was at the park walking one of our dogs. Just a park in our neighborhood where families go, children go. A park should be patrolled by police officers, right? It took them 4 hours to get there when she made the call. And it was just kind of like, oh, well, you gotta just file a police report and good luck. And that's the police keeping us safe with all of this big budget and military weapons and all of this, And the reason why there's such a slow response is because they're not patrolling like suburban neighborhoods or, any of the areas where like people feel like they are safer because they're in a nicer home, a nicer area, a bit more homogenous, if you catch my drift. They're patrolling low income neighborhoods, looking for kids, selling marijuana, coke, whatever. Maybe petty theft, stealing some beer, whatever. In some cases, stealing food to feed their families. Those are the areas being patrolled. Those are the areas where police are, using all their predatory practices. And to be frank, living in the suburbs, I don't really feel safer because if somebody's gonna rob a home and put their life at risk and their freedom, they're gonna try to get the most bang for their buck. They're gonna go to a neighborhood, a nicer home where they're probably gonna get nicer things. These nicer areas are also patrolled less because all the police are concentrated in the poor areas trying to get these, small-time criminals so that they can make money for the state. Moving on to making money for the state, the police essentially only serves to make money for your local governments because, let's say, you get pulled over for a DUI, which happens to about 1 in 4 people. Spend a few hours in jail till you're sober up, they kick you out, tell you to go to court, give you a fine, you pay it, and that's it. It doesn't prevent drunk driving. I used to be a bartender and I would serve many people. I would say 90% drove afterwards. So them looking for drunk drivers doesn't prevent drunk driving. It just makes money for the state. Same thing with going after minor drug offenders. They're saying, oh, we're cleaning up our streets. No, you're not. In fact, you're probably making the problem worse because now this person is gonna that you basically took from their home, is now those people are gonna have to make it up somehow, and they're gonna their brothers and sisters might start selling drugs now because they need to survive and eat. It doesn't fix anything. It just creates a system where a small number of people who own these corporations, who operate these city and local governments, who are getting money from these companies, like, oh, here, there's a small number of people getting richer, destroying everyone at the bottom. Thank you guys for watching.